Wow.
Hi.
It's officially 4:01, and
3:01 actually. But that means that he's 2 hours late for you and 1 hour late for me.
it's true. So I had the confirmation from him that 2 p.m. was good, and he said, "Sweet." I gave him the link. And thus far, we have no Jim Wiley.
I thought it would have been funnier if you hadn't given him any link. It is hot today. I just went running, which is a terrible decision. I want everyone to know, don't go running immediately before doing a live stream. I was like, it's too freaking hot for mascara, so I'm not wearing mascara. My life is really hard.
Why don't you just run in the apartment?
Well, I did. It's still freaking hot. I've got it's all. I don't use I only use natural light. I barely ever. Except here's one light. Let me turn it on. There, lights on. Kyle's trying to tell if I look different without mascara.
Kyle's trying to understand why it being hot outside matters.
Because there's windows.
What's up, guys?
Hi there, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Can you see me?
Light
yes,
comes
sir.
through the windows.
You're right there. Cool.
You must be hot. You are wearing a suit.
Yes, but I am in the basement, so.
All right.
It's a little bit cooler here.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I agree with Sarah. Maybe take the jacket off, Amanda.
Me?
That would.
The jacket is part of my persona.
See, I have this thing called air conditioning.
I have air conditioning too. I just went on a run. I'm very hot and sweaty.
Yeah, but it's 72 in here, so it's easy.
Okay.
Thanks for coming on, Jim.
Sure.
We're trying to understand this situation.
I'm glad to attempt to explain.
All right, all right. So on round 2 of Colorado Convention 2025, there's another swing and a miss. How? What has led to the situation we're in at this point?
So the Colorado statutes here require that we post in a newspaper of general circulation, which is very specifically defined for legal notice purposes within Colorado
Yep.
statute
Mm.
in every county in which a registered libertarian exists, or at least a member of the party. And so that's Denver Post, Colorado Springs Gazette. Some of these larger publications might qualify for that purpose. And we did this in the fall, for example, when we were holding our assembly to nominate Kennedy for our ballot. We sent out notice. We published that in the newspaper. For whatever reason, the team, of which I was a member of the team responsible for holding convention, the person in charge of that specific piece of providing notice did not execute on that element. And so now we have one, the first convention venue canceled on us, second convention not properly noticed, and really there is no charm in the second time, and so we needed a third. We needed a third convention this year to really get the charm, and that is worth all the headache, I think.
Was the charm victory? Because it's first of all, let's talk about the first convention where the venue canceled. Why did that venue cancel?
There's a lot of different speculation. We've got the direct story that was presented to us and a few potential alternative assumptions as why that might have happened. The official story, what the venue told us, is a large donor of theirs contacted them after they saw a post that included a meme, the Tiger King, and who donated those or donated those tigers to the sanctuary when he went to jail. And so they've got all his animals there. We've been kind of making a theme out of that with our promotion of the convention. And so we had the Tiger King meme go up, and it said something about come meet libertarians or something in the obnoxious way that we do. And somebody saw that because the affiliate development group of Chaffee County or some Parker County, I think Parker County, came out and posted that, reposted that. And somebody in Parker County or somebody who follows them saw that, contacted the venue, said, I won't donate to you if you hold this convention. And they donated the convention to us. It was a free venue. So it's no loss to them to get rid of us. A huge loss to us, unfortunately. I wish we did have some kind of contract in place over this to prevent this outcome, but they canceled it. That's the official narrative. We've got two alternative hypotheses. One is the fact-hearted situation that we had in Colorado, where we had a Democratic operative contacting Libertarian Party of Colorado, criticizing us for our memes, and Hannah Goodman took that person to task and identified them as a retarded faggot, faggot retard, and other descriptive terms. And so I call that the fact-hearted incident. And that was actually published in the Denver Post also.
Right.
And it was right about the same time. So there's some suggestion that it wasn't limited to the Tiger King meme, that there might have also been some influence of the donor that caused the cancellation because of the fact-hearted incident, where that was really a dud. Other than in libertarian circles, that story didn't pick up. No other publications other than the one really ran with it. So I don't know why. Other than, of course, our good friend Jared Polis, the most libertarian governor in America, his support or promotion of that meme, sharing that to all of his followers and the fact-hearted incident, that was really fascinating and a big boost for Libertarian Party of Colorado. But other than mostly in libertarian circles, nobody paid attention to that. The other potential element, and I think this is the most realistic assumption, is unfortunately the venue is located in a town which has the first libertarian mayor in Colorado, Mayor Aaron Lamb of Kingsburg, and he's suffering a recall effort. He basically is cracking down on the tyranny of the police in his town and trying to replace the police chief. So all the back the blue people, these statists, authoritarian right essentially are rallying together to protect their police force and exert tyranny in their community even more. And so that might have influenced the libertarian perspective because we're associated with him. He was planning the convention in his own town. He's the chair of the convention committee, all that stuff. So that's another potential hypothesis. Long answer to your question.
Sure. I guess my problem with I mean, like you mentioned, like notice has been made in the paper in the last year for RFK Jr., for instance. So, and we've had people from LPCO who've been watching our show when we've mentioned it before. How is something as easy as dropping this to a newspaper reporter, missed? And at this point, like, I mean, this is an email.
And a credit card transaction. That's
If you make
a
it
great question. And
if you make it a actual ad, but if you tell the newspaper that there's going to be a convention, like, they'll post it.
and one did actually. The Colorado Springs Gazette owns what's called the Colorado Politics, which is another printed newspaper, but also an online
Yes.
publication. So they released a publication on Saturday, the 21st, that was mailed out, distributed to all the counties that they have subscribers in. Really great publication, only $189 a year for a subscription. Anybody in Colorado, I would highly recommend. Oh, almost lost you. Okay, don't kick the stand. I would highly recommend looking into subscribing to the Colorado Politics. They put out a weekly schedule bulletin, but it's for the next week. And the 15 days notice is not fulfilled by their publication necessarily. So on Saturday, everything happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday through the next Saturday was published. So it was 1 week notice, not 15 days. Plus, that's only 50% of it. And that alone is a disqualifying element. The other element is the entity responsible for providing notice must provide notice. So a third party can't come in and say, hey, we're going to notice your convention for you. Nice, but I still have to do it. And whether I pay for it or ask them and they kindly publish it, that is necessary, that it come from the initiative of the entity responsible for providing that notice, which according to statute and according to our bylaws did not happen. So yes, it's simple. I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to say it's like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. We've done it before. We could do it again. It just didn't happen. The individual responsible for executing on that did not. And so we're going to go for the charm. It's going to be the third time.
I guess what's curious to me is that there were multiple avenues of oversight for this, right? I mean, this is not a new law that you have. This is not,
No.
This wasn't decided like a couple weeks ago. That this has been something that people on the committee have known needed to happen, and they've known the rules for why it needed to happen. So I guess it's just confusing, especially since it did already happen. You already did have one canceled convention. Why there would not be more oversight, and why this was only just discovered is very confusing.
Yeah, so it was brought up in an executive team meeting, not a board meeting or anything, just the four executive officers and myself. The treasurer mentioned it. He's like, hey, didn't we do this once before? And then it was just like, oh, duh. But we were a week
Well, I
out.
mean, like, there was a reminder on notice sent by Wayne Harlos in May as part of an open letter to the board and everywhere else. We sent a reminder on this after the first one was missed. So it's weird because we've mentioned it repeatedly. We've made jokes about the calendar being missed. We sent a reminder on it. Members sent reminders. It seems like a bigger failure than just an accidental forgetting when so many people have tried to make sure that it's happening.
Gross negligence would be the descriptor I would use for it. I wouldn't describe it as malicious, though in that realm of things it's hard to distinguish. So you guys are going to have to take my word on it that this wasn't more than an accident, which it was. So this is not a convenient instance for me. I'm going to be driving to Holyoke and staying in a hotel tonight to wake up in the morning and say, "Hi guys, sorry you showed up. I tried to email you multiple times telling you not to come, telling you that this is illegal if you continue to hold this meeting." So I'm going to be putting in an effort, and it's highly inconvenient for me, very expensive for me, very expensive for other members of our executive team who put a lot of money into it, our party itself who put a lot of money into this convention. Fortunately, it's not like a big gala fundraiser convention. All we bought is the venue, a parliamentarian, and that's essentially our costs. So we are
That
limited in our costs, but it's still
that
a huge inconvenience.
who is that parliamentarian? What
There's only
parliamentarian did you guys
one,
have? Who right, who is that parliamentarian?
JJ Parlia.
Gotcha. Um, because the thing that's weird to me there is I would think that he would have read the bylaws and also have notice and would have checked on notice. Like we had a floor parliamentarian for Georgia, and when we've worked with them before, like they tend to look into these things, right? Like they tend to notice.
Notice the notice. Uh-huh. So that wasn't in the
Exactly.
scope
Yeah.
of his contract, or reason for retention necessarily was the notice and preparation for convention. It was convention itself and the agenda elements and execution on things that happened along the way. So maybe we'll change our retention contract and make sure he's reviewing that. He did offer to put together like a step one, this date, step two, this date. I'm looking forward to reading that.
That may be a good plan.
You mentioned the cost to the executive committee to come out and to this venue and basically declare the convention void. It's also a considerable cost to the members, right? So a lot of people, I imagine, this is not a convenient location for them, have made hotel reservations, have taken time off work. Now, if there's
On a
another
Saturday.
convention, well, I mean, there are people
Not
who
everyone's
work
white
on,
collar.
yeah, there are a lot of people, especially in the Libertarian Party, who work like who do shift work and who work at restaurants, stuff like that.
Sure.
And would now need to do that again. I'm assuming in the fall. Is that when you're planning on holding it again? Maybe I just made that up, but
Yeah, we're
okay.
looking at, obviously we have restrictions as far as the timeline.
Sure.
We're gonna follow the bylaws to our best of our ability and execute
Sure.
on that, but we're looking
Sure.
at least 90 days out.
Right.
I think Hannah's suggestion was that it'd probably be November.
Okay.
From what I
That's
saw.
right around the period of time.
So, is there any way that these members who have made these hotel reservations are going to be able to be compensated for this? It's for this waste of time? Because again, now they need to do all this twice, if they can do it at all, right? If they can show up to the next convention, this is going to be a double cost for them.
Well, we aren't doing the convention in the same place, so they're unable to reschedule their reservation necessarily. But we're hoping to make the new location much more convenient for them. We moved to that location as a result of the conflict that we were having with the venue. We needed someplace where we'd be more confident about a lower risk of cancellation. And we had a close familiar relationship between the provider of the venue and the chair of our party, and so we were able to secure that with a lot of guarantees. Obstructed only by God, potentially. The new venue should be much more convenient. It's centrally located in the state, and we're still working on the date, so we're not ready to announce that. But we're hoping to do the best of our ability to convenience as many people as possible here.
One of the folks watching has the question, or has the point that if I was a member, I'd be suing the board directly for travel expenses. That can be a thing. Like that's what a derivative suit would be at that point. Is that not a major worry at this point?
We get sued all the time by our membership, so I don't enjoy lawsuits, but I win every single one. So
Fair enough.
try it.
I guess in a similar vein, so the first convention was missed because of a failure on postcard purchase.
Incorrect.
Okay, that is what Hannah's posted before. So what happened on the timing originally?
The issue with the first convention was the venue cancellation.
Yeah, he said it wasn't timing; it was the venue canceled. I think the
Well,
story was
right,
different, but
gotcha. Okay. Um, that's Phil has a follow-up question there of, is the failure to uphold contract a violation of the NAP here?
If you aggress, it would be a violation of the NAP to intentionally violate contract, but that is not the case.
you're referring to it as gross negligence instead. Those were the words that you used. I'm
I'm
okay.
very, very, very disappointed in the performance of my team.
If that's the case, and I mean the buck sort of stops with, with the people who are in authority. I'm wondering why, when this has happened a couple times, and maybe one time was because the venue canceled and the venue was upset. There were reasons for that. Why are you still running? To be perfectly blunt about it, if there have been so many missteps here.
Well, I leave it for the will of the party to decide how or if they wish to hold leadership accountable at this point. So I'm running for chair to replace Hannah Goodman, the current chair. I'm her choice, endorsed by her and endorsed by the chainsaw here in Colorado. And so I've got that backing. We've got the old guard, the boomers who are trying to come back in and take back over. And so if they have enough righteous indignation in their heart to rally together and show up and vote me out, that is the accountability that they're entitled to. So I invite that. But I am still running because I believe I provide the best representation for libertarianism in Colorado.
All right. So earlier you made the comment that you feel like, that on the whole, Hannah, you et al. Have been successful for LPCO.
Yes.
My understanding is that, let's see, there's my math. There were 571 members in Colorado when the Mises took control of LPCO. And the latest published number is 388. So that's a 32% drop in membership. And similarly, there's been a more than 17% drop in registered voters or registered libertarians in that same time. And the lack of a buffer over the 1% mark means that there's potential loss in Senate debate, for instance. And Senate debate is one of the things that is, more on the PDR side. It's more local. It's kind of major for the party. It's kind of major for any state party. It to me, as I'm a math guy, so it's when I see numbers dropping, I don't think of things as going well. So I guess what in your mind has been good? If you're seeing numbers drop, you're seeing people not able to even get conventions together properly. There have been problems with emails. There's been problems getting information out to members. Just all kinds of weird things. Like all those together, to me, seems like the bare minimum of competence isn't there somehow. Whether that's because of leadership or that's because of the tooling or whatever, it seems pretty rough. I don't see the positive in my head right off. So if you could educate me on this, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, happy to. Yeah, so we've got the most successful affiliate in the country, and we've demonstrated that through quantitative metrics such as fundraising and obviously through our political influence and how we've advanced to the forefront of the discussion nationally, but also taken control of the political discussion here in the state. So
But the
that's
number of elected
evidence.
libertarians is down.
What?
The number of elected libertarians for Colorado is down.
So we've suffered a result of a bylaw change, which limited participation in our convention, where we had anybody who's a registered libertarian in Colorado could attend a convention and vote. I don't know if it's suffering, because really it does provide its value, but we've experienced this change, I should say. Now it's only sustaining membership. So if you have $25 more offered to the party, that that can qualify you for voting rights. So that also factors into participation within the election process. The larger the pot of people that you have attending your convention, you're going to get more people just throwing their hat in the ring for this race or that race randomly. And there's a lot of value in that. So we've had a contraction in our membership because we changed the bylaws to change who could vote. That's also changed the participation. We had hundreds of people participate in our conventions in the past. Now we have less than 100 since I've been involved. And that's unfortunate. It's a change. There's more commitment from each of the members, which I think is a benefit, but it's a trade-off. There's definitely an opportunity cost there. So there's been a lot of changes in Colorado as far as the Libertarian Party and how we operate, but there's no doubt in anyone's mind that we have more political power, more influence, that we're advancing the cause of liberty, we're breaking up the Democratic supermajority. And this is something that I think a lot of different libertarians should be looking at. I think the Libertarian Party of Texas, the Libertarian Party of Tennessee, the Libertarian Party of Louisiana, the Libertarian Party of California need to be looking at this opportunity in their states to push the needle. Because in any state, there's two minor parties and one major party. And so the two minor parties would be, for example, in Texas, the Libertarian Party and the Democratic Party. And the Libertarian Party needs to exert its influence to manipulate the Democratic Party in Texas to be better and challenge the tyranny of the Republicans in that state. Same in Tennessee, the tyranny of the Republicans in Tennessee can be challenged by the Libertarian Party negotiating with the Democratic Party, signing pledges, withdrawing from certain races on either side. Sometimes more Libertarians run, sometimes more Democrats run, but that will cause the Republican tyranny in Tennessee to erode as Democrats are able to challenge that more effectively in relationship with Libertarians. That's what we've done in Colorado. That's what every state needs to start doing to actually have power to control that conversation and to move the needle. So I think we might have a few lost candidates here or there, but overall we've advanced liberty and demonstrated the success of our model.
I'm gonna railroad.
It's down by over 50%. It's not a minor drop.
Railroading over Kyle for a second. We can get back to that point. Talking about the numbers, the signing pledges thing. I'm a libertarian. We're all allegedly libertarians. I would say that I would love for the libertarians to have as much political capital as I think people want, whereby candidates of major parties can just sign pledges and promise to do things, but they really have no incentive to keep those promises. They can sign a pledge all day. RFK signed a liberty pledge and, could have been laughing all the way afterward. The staffers could have been laughing all the way. There's no incentive for a politician to keep that promise. What typically happens is that if libertarians do spoil an election, the party that loses after the fact does a postmortem and says, okay, where did this minor party candidate come from and on what issues did he pull from us or she pull from us or whatever? And then they try and incorporate those issues into their platform. It's usually in the aftermath, that postmortem effect. But in terms of signing liberty pledges in advance, I haven't really seen evidence that is effective. I've seen it happen, but then I've seen those pledges get broken.
Well, Ross is free.
Yes, Ross is free, but that was... You can go first. I was going to say that was something that was first promised to Nick Sarwark during Donald Trump's first, or rather it was promised to Nick Sarwark. Donald Trump couldn't do that before his second term because it was a very unpopular move, unfortunately. So that had already been in the hopper. Then there was the Free Ross campaign. By the time that promise was made at the convention, at the Libertarian convention, it was already in the works. He said it, but it wasn't as though it had occurred to him as the product of these talks or negotiations between himself and the ex-chair. this was something that was going to happen, and he said it was, and it was one of the few things that he did. And then if Ross makes a site like he did ever again, he could easily get the death penalty as the result of Trump's policies. That he's not changed his ways on anything. He's freed Ross, and that's amazing. But that was already in the works, and there hasn't been any change in policy for, toward actual libertarian change. That's what's confusing about all this.
Right. I see this as a very much a great justice for Ross, but it's not an increased justice for anyone else, and it's certainly not increased liberty for the rest of us. Instead, we sold our membership out. We sold a bunch of our ideas out. And so we're in a worse place than we were before. We've traded the capital that we've been working on for decades in exchange for a better sentence for one person's crime in the eyes of the authoritarian government. To me, that's a pretty big loss. Kennedy being in the cabinet, Kennedy's a big authoritarian. Sure, there are things that I agree with him on. I want better labeling of things that are going on with foods, those sorts of things. I don't want that coming from the government. I don't want the government to be sitting and telling me at my business what my business has to do. I want the people to be telling me what the business has to do. Otherwise, my business fails. And that's not just some anarchist wet dream there. That's, even in the minarchist goal. We don't want the government to tell us what we can and can't eat. We don't want the government to tell us what we can and can't do. If we want to do things that are dangerous, stupid, and get us killed, that's our right as human beings. Whereas I don't see the positive therein for Kennedy. That one, that can be a difference of opinion on that one. But it's so I've got the thing I've pulled up here is Hannah's actual message. I went and grabbed it. People have been saying the board canceled the location and decided to move it after complaints were made about notice which were valid. We were scrambling to put information together about needing to call in order to order in the parking lot of the original place and adjourn to a new location and time, get that out to members and plan a whole new location. It turns out, at Own Worst Enemy 90, didn't get the order placed for the original call to convention, making the notice not valid, getting rid of the need to scramble with the above plan. I'm not excited that the order wasn't placed, but I guess it's working out. Lessons were learned, mistakes are being, and the rest is irrelevant to it. So was Hannah incorrect here? This directly goes against the claim that it was purely a cancellation of the venue. So I'm just very confused on this.
So the venue
the information's not consistent.
So the venue canceled, and we were in the aftermath of that cancellation trying to figure out, well, do we still send because we had sent an email notice. We'd done electronic, it was on our website, all that stuff. Do we send the postcards? We're in that window, we've got a deadline, we need these postmarked. Do we send the postcards? So there was confusion around that element in the cancellation of the location. There was an assumption that we might suspend the postcard process, which ultimately was the correct assumption, but it happened at a sensitive timing because of the deadline of the postcard publication. So if we had, as Hannah described, gone forward with that parking lot convention, definitely not the first one we've done, then we can go ahead and send those postcards and everybody can show up at the parking lot and we'll do our little dance and get together the week after or whatever, adjourn to a new location. Because we decided just to straight up cancel it entirely, then what she's describing as the postcard confusion defaulted it again to the assumption of not being necessary.
Gotcha. All right.
I don't know, and let me bring this up so I'm making sure that I have this correct. So you are currently the secretary of LP Colorado, is that correct?
I'm the executive director.
The executive director, okay. And
a couple weeks ago, I became the secretary.
Okay, also. Yes. So that was, that happened at a regular board meeting, right? That vacancy was filled at a board meeting?
Yes, it was, I believe, the 10th of this month or whatever the second Monday was.
And I understand that, filling vacancies is a little bit different from, electing officers. at a convention. But if this is such an important thing, I mean, was that noticed? Were members alerted to that at all? And if not, how is that valid and this convention wouldn't be?
It's an appointment by the board, which is temporary until confirmed by the convention. So at the convention, say I wanted to be secretary, and I don't. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
I was put in that position so I could be secretary at the convention,
Mm-hmm.
and then take the gavel at the end. So that needs to be confirmed. Should I will to stay in the position, needs to be confirmed by a vote of the population.
So,
So if you interrupt a term necessarily.
right. Kyle.
I'm still working through things in my own head. I'm sorry. It like, you know, there's been the penalties from the Secretary of State, over $10,000. It's
Yeah. We were
Or-
still upset with Wayne Harlow's over that error.
but it was the Mises treasurer at the time, rather than Wayne. So what?
He
How
was
was
the
it
chair.
Wayne's fault?
Wayne was the chair.
But it's the treasurer's duty.
And Wayne's ultimate responsibility.
So everything that's gone wrong since Hannah took over is Hannah's responsibility, including these two missed
Yeah. Yes.
conventions and everything else.
Yes.
But you're still using her as a person who is giving you a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
She's
Yeah.
endorsed you,
Oh, she's endorsed me, yes. Yes.
and that's good.
She's the most wildly successful political figure to enter libertarian politics
Even with all of
since
these,
Dave Nolan. Really.
even with all of
I don't-
these issues going on, like even with the misnoticed, even with all the controversies. I mean, you mentioned earlier that LP Colorado has been catapulted, and I'm paraphrasing, catapulted into the national conversations, making libertarianism more relevant, things like that. I think it's fair to say that people are talking about LP Colorado more. Perhaps they're talking about libertarianism more. But I don't know if that in and of itself is a win. If I were to start posting things about how, you know, libertarians support bombing Iran and, you know, going to war with whomever, and this was the libertarian thing to do, maybe people would be talking more about libertarianism, but I don't know if they would get the right idea about what libertarianism stands for. And I could say, well, it's free speech, and libertarians stand for free speech. But now we're quite afield of the actual issue. Yes, libertarians are free speech, but that doesn't mean that it's libertarian
Red
to,
herring.
yes, use your free speech to support that kind of policy. So I'm just curious about how you think putting libertarianism in the national conversation in the way that LP Colorado has been a net good.
We've nearly equaled the political stage that LP New Hampshire has achieved. And they've done
But
incredible.
they're literally the second worst in the country.
You're going to have to
So,
qualify that.
Wait,
Second worst
which
how?
of us is worse, us or them?
They are currently.
They're worse.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So the two of us lead the political conversation as far as libertarianism goes. That's a
That's
ground that
definitely
they've
not true.
held for a while, and it's one that
No.
we've recently moved into sharing alongside them. They've got a lot more followers. They're more widely known. But
They
we've
only have followers on X. They specifically go after Republicans. If you look at their bot numbers are huge. This is because it's a known fact that Jeremy Coffin pays for those. They're irrelevant. You go look at their Facebook. They are the second smallest overall on Facebook, and we see the most money coming back from the ROI on ads and everything else from Facebook. Twitter actually has a worse ROI than TikTok, and TikTok doesn't have a traditional ad program. So, like, Twitter followers are useless. The thing that matters is results. We look at
and
the
we
people who are
generate
elected.
results, fortunately, and that's why we're starting to overtake them to some degree. In Colorado, we've got a political strategy which has been wildly successful, and
But there's half as many people elected. I don't understand. Like, what is the success here?
We've broken the Democratic supermajority. We've elected Gabe Evans. We've got staff members in his office who are libertarians. We're having conversations with DC about libertarian pledge strategy. It's a new wave of not being ignored, which for 50 years of libertarian existence has never been achieved.
That sounds very much like you're being ignored. They're putting you at the kids' table and they're giving you crayons to color with so that you'll stay out of their way.
And doing things they already said that they would do, like freeing Ross, which is awesome, but was something that was already promised.
Okay, you guys don't want to give Angela credit for that.
I want to give Lynn Ulbricht the most credit.
Right. Like, I'm not saying that Angela didn't do...
Bring Ross was an element on our pledge, which Angela took to Trump.
Right, but what we're saying is that was already something that Donald Trump had said he was going to do. So you can put it on the pledge, but if it's something that was already going to happen... It's a nice thing, but it's not something that happened because it was on a pledge.
Right. I guess that's kind of the issue here, right? If you've agreed to marry someone, you've bought a wedding ring, and then at the altar you're like, also I have this gift for you. It's a wedding ring. Did you just give a second gift? It was already pledged. It was already the idea of what was happening. He had already told Sarwark. He had already told he had told Bitcoin people the year before. He had said, like, I don't understand how...
Let me try a new analogy. You give a wedding ring to your first girlfriend. It doesn't work out. You give a wedding ring to your second girlfriend. You're at the altar. You put it on her finger. Sarwark is not the one who got the ring. All credit to him for having the conversation, maybe even getting the proposal. But Angela executed on that. And she presented a candidate that drew away from the right and not the left.
There's a reason that Ross didn't mention Angela one time
other way around
at his speech for Freedom Fest this last time. He thanked a whole bunch of people, and Angela wasn't on that list. Ross doesn't see it that way. Lynn Ulbricht doesn't see it that way.
I haven't talked to him. I wouldn't know about his perspective on the situation. I just know that 60-70% of libertarians voted for Trump because he offered us something that was beyond what the other side was offering us. And
where do you see that 60% of where do you see 60% of libertarians voting for Trump?
Well, Chase had historic low turnout.
Chase literally did above average.
Didn't vote. They didn't just disappear.
Chase did above average
for Trump.
Chase had the highest turnout of anyone other than directly getting GOP money from Gary Johnson, other than Joe. He did better than Ron Paul for all of Ron Paul's runs. He did better than Harry Brown, and I don't think anyone would argue that Harry Brown wasn't amazing. Like, he did very well. It's a common Mises talking point, but it's based on no actual mathematics. Like, yes, it's 0.4%. That's above our average. That's where the Libertarian Party has been, because every 10 years we had this same discussion of what if we go and we work with the Republicans. And every time it sets us back a decade. Like, I don't understand why this would be different than when Rothbard tried it in 90 and then went over to Lew Rockwell. We had the same conversation with Lew Rockwell in early 90s. And then we went to nothing for a decade. And then we had the same thing start to happen. Then 9/11 happened, and then the Democrats did it, and we had the Prags come in. Like, this is the same song and dance we run over and over and over. This is not a new strategy. And it's not even the most effective version of the strategy that's been run from this party. So, like, I don't understand. It seems like you're relearning the same lesson that we've learned literally 5 times now.
Well, are we going to understand our position as a spoiler and use that for our power, or are we just going to squander it into the wind?
You're not a spoiler if you work with one of the parties.
I know. We take control of that party. They bow down to us.
But
we control the conversation.
With what numbers? That's the thing. There's 7,500 registered libertarians. That's not enough to. I mean, that's maybe enough to move a very, very close election. But the 2024 election
1%.
was not close by that margin at all. We're not close by. If everyone who had voted for Joe Jorgensen voted for a non-Trump candidate in the 2024 election, Trump still would have won. I don't see how a major party, Republican or Democrat, that has all of this media power, all of this capital, all of this voting power, has any reason to bow down to a minor party, libertarian, whatever else. I don't see it. I think that we're spoilers, but in a way that means that we need to be running effective campaigns. And honestly, I also think that our strategy could be more effective. I would say that what you need to be doing is what we need to be doing, pardon me, is we need to be building political capital in those off years and getting a social momentum going so that then people do pay attention to the libertarian candidate when it does come time to elect them. That doesn't happen just by running a libertarian candidate and sitting on our butts the 4 or 2 years off. It doesn't come just by going to the table and trying to make a deal with a Republican or a Democrat. It comes from direct action in a lot of situations. I do think we need to change our strategy, but I don't think we try to take over a massive major political party that already has a ton of momentum, given the fact that they occupy the White House. That seems to be like a losing bargain.
And I don't want to target one party or the other. In Colorado, we target the Republicans because we have the Democratic tyranny. So I'm not saying the whole national party should align itself with the Republicans and try to take over that party. We need to centralize our power generally so that we can rise to the position that we're primed to take over one of those parties. We're not there yet, but we can make ourselves relevant, control the conversation in either state, left state or right state, targeting the other minor party, and take over the Democratic Party in Texas, take over the Republican Party in Colorado, where I went to an event last night called the Legislative Wrap-Up, mostly Republicans there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a table. I walk up to the door. A governor candidate, his name is Alex Magatu, opens the door for me. I'm bringing all my totes and stuff in for the tabling. Says, I got a table for us. He wants to split a table with me because he's so eager about associating himself with the Libertarian Party.
Mm-hmm.
I spent, this guy's an independent who switched to the Republican Party, also running for governor.
One sec, sorry.
McBride.
McBride, thanks. And he's put millions of dollars into his campaign just in the primary process.
Mm-hmm.
Spent
Back
10,
to
15
so you
minutes
look like you.
talking to the Libertarian Party, talking to me about the things we have in common and how we can work together in the governor race. And so we've got a couple of things that we're planning for 2026. We've got 4 different candidates statewide. We've also got a Senate candidate and all our Congress. But the 4 statewide candidates, treasurer, secretary of state, attorney general, governor, we're looking at taking advantage of those to negotiating which ones we're going to compete in. And we might be able to, we're pushing to find a Republican candidate who will withdraw their candidacy and make it a two-person race, Libertarian and Democrat, in the same way that we're willing to do that with the other side. So this is about getting Libertarians elected at the end of the day, because we're strengthening our negotiation position every time.
I think the root of my difficulty on this one for talking to it is that I feel like we've got different definitions of libertarianism. Can you kind of give your philosophical view on libertarianism for me here? Because it seems like from where I'm coming from, the things you're saying are just completely and utterly not libertarian. So I want to understand what I'm missing.
And I haven't mentioned political philosophy thus far. All I've talked about is political strategy. And
sure, and I'm never going to work with a Republican.
The mechanisms of politics to advance the cause of liberty.
Right.
And by taking our political philosophy and imposing it upon others by forcing them into conversation with us. If that makes sense. So let me address the philosophy itself. That's the strategy, is connecting it with people who are actually have a chance at winning. Our piece of that is anarcho-capitalism, Rothbardianism, Hobieism. Like these different elements we definitely bring to the table still in the philosophical purity in educating the public and bringing people with a lot of energy, a lot of activity, but no depth to their philosophy, using terms as general as free market economy. We leave the Austrian economics at home, come out and talk about free market economies to people who don't have a depth of vocabulary, and try to educate and bring them to our side. As far as anarcho-capitalism goes, I'm pretty vanilla in that space. Might disagree with other libertarians on issues such as abortion or open borders. I do believe in open borders, but only with Argentina. You have to have somebody of a similar philosophical value on the other side of the border if you're going to open it up, in my opinion. But we should open our borders with Argentina, absolutely. And so I think I still have more in common with Alliance Libertarians and Prague Libertarians than I probably do with Kennedy, for example, who thinks it's impossible to privatize air. That's bullshit. You could easily privatize air. So I've got some issues with the lukewarm libertarians, like clash with Republicans constantly, philosophically, but ultimately that doesn't stop me from working with them to advance liberty, to break that supermajority here. And like they're trying to take away children from people for misgendering them. Like this is some real hardcore tyranny we're experiencing here. I know in Texas they're putting 10 commandments in the classrooms. Fuck that. Like, look, can we please get some accountability for the Republicans from the other side? The Libertarians and Democrats need to work together to stop that shit. File some lawsuits. Like, Libertarian Party recently, we filed lawsuits. All of our donors came from the Republican Party because they loved that we were holding Jenna accountable for leaking the BIOS passwords. We sued the government instead of suing other libertarians, which, by all means, Colorado Libertarians, if you feel the need to sue me, I'm right here. Go ahead. I'd rather spend time, resources, and energy suing government. I spent twice as much money defending the Libertarian Party of Colorado from lawsuits than suing the Secretary of State, which is better for the value of accountability for the government, for the advancement of self-governance as a concept, and liberty for all people.
And I think before we get off this topic, this might be a place where Kyle and I disagree, because Kyle said that he wouldn't work with a Republican. I would work with a Republican. I'd work with a Democrat. I'd work with socialists.
Work with the Republicans.
Right. Well, I would on an issue coalition, right? And where I wouldn't is by having the same candidate or endorsing fusionism. That would be the issue.
Down just a little bit here.
Me or Wayne?
Wayne was feedback.
Okay. So, and I do prefer to critique the kingmaker strategy on strategic terms, because I think, arguing philosophy is kind of a non-starter when you're talking about strategy, right? Although strategy does condition motives, right? But I prefer, if we're arguing about the modes, argue on the merits of those modes. I think that it is strategically illiterate to try and fold oneself into a major political party, even if it's both, right? Even if it varies from state to state, when there is not much reason for voters to take someone seriously if they think there's a chance that they're going to throw the election. And there's not much reason for politicians to take them seriously either, if they know that they can break the deal and then that party's lost its political capital anyhow, so they don't have to worry about them in the next election, because they've already proved themselves out to be people who will just acquiesce to another party. It doesn't seem to hold up under scrutiny.
I don't know if Gabe Evans fails in his commitment to the Libertarian Party, and he's on thin ice now with his position on Israel, that's for sure. He could go to the Green Party and try to get a pledge signed with them, but he needs to definitely improve his position. There's accountability for pledge signers, and that is absolutely not just something that they can break and walk away from.
Right, but we can.
Nice to see you, Carlos.
My headset isn't working with the computer, so I'm going to have. Okay. Oh, hang on, maybe it is.
We can hear you, Wayne.
You can hear.
Can you hear now?
No.
Wayne had asked if he could. Got it. So.
We can also, he can mute when he's not talking, and then.
I'll have to use the mic on the computer.
Welcome to live technical difficulties, everyone.
Yep. This is why we usually do things beforehand if possible. Oh.
He's frozen now. If we want to send him out and then bring him back in, is that going to work?
That works for me.
Definitely want to hear him out, just so you know I've got to leave in a few minutes, but
right.
I definitely want to hear Carlos out.
You guys trying to reach me?
Yeah. We can hear you now.
Can you hear us?
All right, yeah, I can hear you now.
Fantastic.
Cool. Hey, Wayne.
How are you?
I'm tired. It's the end of the week. I'm looking forward to taking a nap for the rest of the day after this. I think that speaks for a lot of the Libertarian Party right now. I think we're all tired.
Yeah.
Like the things I'm fired up about, absolutely, but I would like a nap.
Well, I think we're all in that position right now for one reason or another.
So, got the messages from you and Karen Ann about Gavin Kaczynski, and so I figured that since that was talked about earlier, that could be talked about from the perspective of the former chair.
Well, let me give you a little background. We had a board where there was only two of us on the board that were not Mises, and the rest were Mises, including the treasurer. And the Mises group would have their own meetings outside of our monthly meetings, and they would have their minds made up on everything. And it turned out that Gavin was not timely on his reports that he should have been. I found out about it and I brought it to the board's attention, but unfortunately we were already a month out. We were a month behind. And so I talked to Gavin, and he promised me that he would take care of it and that he already had it handled. He'd been in contact with the Secretary of State, and he had it all taken care of. I brought it to the board's attention, and every subsequent board meeting that we had, we would have written board reports, which the LPCO no longer does that. But when I was chair, we had written board reports, and every month we would have the opportunity to ask the other directors what any questions that we would have about their board report. And when it came to Gavin, I always asked him in front of everybody, where do we stand with this thing with the Secretary of State? And he would always tell me that he had it all taken care of or had been in contact with them and it would all be resolved. Only one time in 3 months did one of the Mises members ask Gavin any questions. They completely ignored it. So they had their own contact with Gavin behind my back. And ultimately, the buck did stop with me because I was the state chair at the time, but I was lied to, flat out. And the rest of the Mises group refused to hold his feet to the fire, and I think they knew the truth, but I didn't. I was told a lie by Gavin. So while ultimately the buck stops with me, we ended up in a position where we had several fines. I was able to get Gavin to commit to making the first payment in the maximum amount allowed to Colorado. I think it was $3,350, if my memory serves me correctly. But he hasn't made any subsequent payments, and I don't think the current board has reached out to him to see if he's going to make good on his promise to pay the entire debt off. I've been going to the board meetings. It's never been discussed at any of the board meetings.
Thank you, Wayne. Do you have anything back on that one, Jim?
No. Thanks for coming in, sharing your perspective on that.
Well, I wanted to clear it up. I asked for help from the board, and I couldn't get it. They wouldn't dive in, and they had their own meetings behind my back, and they ignored the problem. I couldn't get them to step up and take care of it. And once again, at all the board meetings since I was no longer chair, when I decided I didn't want to run again, there has never been mention of going after Gavin for the balance of the fines.
But you described that the buck stopped with you, and ultimately,
Sure.
if you were not in control of your board, you still represented the executive capacity of the board. Should you not have resigned in order to protect yourself from the negligence of the treasurer?
No, I just didn't want to run again. I've done 2 terms. I've done 2 terms as vice chair. I figured I wanted to see some newer blood in there to come up with some new ideas. I felt that the ideas that we've been running on for the past 8 years were due for a change. And I actually thought we were going to have some good changes. I've been disappointed at the changes that have been made, but they've certainly been in conflict with what I believe the Libertarian Party should be doing. But I wasn't running the board anymore. So I haven't been vocal about my objections, other than the fact that I was expected to sign a delegate form for our. Well, anyhow, I'm not going to get into those details.
All right. Wayne, if you want to hang around, we've only got a few more minutes here, and if not, then I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
No,
Either
I
way.
have a pile of things I've got to do today. I just got home, and I've got a pile of things I've got to do. So thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Wayne.
Good.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. I think we have kind of gone through the major things. I think you only had an hour right now, right? Or
Yeah,
we
I
still
gotta
have you
get
for
on
a
the
little while?
road and go
Okay.
have a non-convention, the most fake
Right.
and gay convention of all time.
Right.
I, as someone who's pretty good friends with Chase Oliver, feel that any convention you can have with Chase will be a more fucking gay convention, but in a
Maybe
very
less
different
fake.
term.
We did have a really gay convention last year, and he was there.
Chase is good folks sometimes. Most of the time, from my perspective. We'll actually have him on tomorrow night. So if you wish to heckle Chase, he'll be around.
We do have a final question, and you might disagree on the term since it is an allegation. But we have a question from one of our viewers, which is: do you think that the buck stops with Angela McArdle with her alleged embezzlement?
I don't see her hard work and diligent efforts and fruitful results as embezzlement.
No,
I think
those
there's
wouldn't be.
major issues as an alternate member for the region on the LNC. I reviewed the report. And I think there's major issues with its completeness. I think it leaves out a lot of important information. It limits perspectives to a few people. It doesn't provide verbatim examples. I'm relatively disappointed with the analysis and investigation into Angela. I'm overall disappointed with the executive leadership of the LNC and its focus on this vengeful vendetta that seems to be plaguing them on reviewing the past actions of former board members as opposed to looking to the future
Well,
and trying to execute
to be
for
clear
the cause
there,
of liberty.
The SIC was on the docket before she was forced to resign.
She resigned voluntarily. I know that's
No, she didn't.
debated element.
Well, I mean, it came out
Just-
from her as the chair of the Mises Caucus, in fact, that she was forced
resigned
out.
voluntarily.
No, from the email, she directly said that she was forced out by the LNC.
The words were forced out. Again, the story is that she was told to resign, or there would be consequences. She would be removed, or their things would be relayed to authorities for investigation. So we can argue about semantics about whether she
That's a
technically
violation of the
did
NAP.
step
Yeah.
down
To
voluntarily.
I mean,
weaponize
she
the violence
she
of the
stole
state to extort
$50,000,
people.
which is a violation of the NAP. As a major donor to the Libertarian Party, she stole money from me, and that's why I'm donating to the party to go after her legally. And may she burn in jail.
Yeah, weaponizing the violence of the state is never good, right? Like when you're sending people, when you're deporting people to El Salvador.
We get sued by other libertarians constantly. It's definitely an interference with the progress towards liberty. It's unfortunate.
There's
but,
no progress from Angela McArdle, but
when it has to deal with an actual crime, I don't see it as weaponizing the violence of the state. I see it as telling someone what consequences would be for contract violation. I don't think that she, well, we've had discussions about whether what she did, merits jail time or anything like that, but certainly further investigation, I think, since, as you well note, that report is incomplete in some of the leads that it pursued, and should be followed up more if there was a breach of fiduciary duty, which certainly would be a violation of the non-aggression principle when you're using members' funds incorrectly. So,
yeah, I think the buck stops with her, but also the credit. And I think she deserves credit for Ross getting free. I think she deserves credit for Trump's victory. It's not awesome, but it's better than Kamala. Right?
I'm generally of the opinion that she does deserve credit, But in the same way that a single engineer deserves credit for building the Daytona 500 track for the winner of the Daytona 500.
Yeah. Maybe the single lead head engineer. Yes.
More like the naked streaker that runs across while things are being built. But
Maybe
to each
not
their own.
talk about naked streakers in the context of Libertarian Party, but yeah.
So thank you for being on, Jim.
All right. Thanks very much for joining us, and have fun at the non-convention.
Good Lord.
All right, guys. I expected you to yell. I was just waiting for you to yell. There had to be.
I held myself very well.
But see, the thing was that as a viewer, I was shocked by the lack of passion. Not just from you. I was hoping that there would be that someone would provoke someone, and it just didn't happen.
Oh, I was provoked, but I'm just less angry than I was on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It I am not attempting to continue a debate now that Jim is gone, but I'm going to give my opinion on Angela McArdle as I have repeatedly. Angela McArdle was very loud about Ross. She wanted very heavily to get the same credit as Thomas Massey and Rand Paul and Lynn Ulbricht and Ross himself. Martha Bueno. People who actually have spent years fighting for this. You can look up when Angela started caring about Ross. She's got 2 tweets about it, and then suddenly last year, after the Angela Files came out in 2023, showing how poorly things were going, suddenly everything about Ross matters. She went after that because everything else was a failure. Membership's down by over 45%. Donations are down by 2/3. Every state that she's been part of has struggled. The affiliates she's been part of has struggled. They've been having to rebuild the LA affiliate because of she's terrible. It's consistent. I mean, hell, she's got a freaking website right now that at least for the past 3 weeks has been broken. That she launched. She paid money for launching this entire group with what should have been Libertarian Solidarity, but she's not as smart as Amanda is. And it's just been broken. I say,
Well,
Ben, I figured that after we talked to Hector, it'd be fixed, but...
To be
Nope.
clear, if I were in charge of designing our website, it would probably look about as bad. But
would you
that's
pay
why
$9,500 for it?
is important. No, I wouldn't, because I don't have $9,500.
Neither does she. You got to up your
she
embezzlement
did
game.
briefly. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I should start I should take over a call center, see what happens. I feel like that Ross Ulbricht is free is gradually getting closer and closer to the center of the screen. I think that by December 8th, it's going to be in the middle. And then it's going to start veering rightward, as Angela McArdle has done. She's Republican Liberty Caucus now. I literally just saw that. Did I see that from you?
Yes.
Okay.
The Republican Liberty Caucus has invited her to talk, and she will be talking for and on behalf of the Republican Liberty Caucus soon.
I think it's great. I genuinely think it's great.
I feel bad for Mike Termott and David Moskrip and all the other people that are going to have to listen to her.
I feel bad for Republicans for being Republicans, but I mean that's their choice.
Sure.
A lot of people have been there in the Libertarian Party. And not everyone can escape. So we should have some compassion. Sorry, that's a weird word for me. I didn't know if I pronounced that right. It's compassion?
That's why Amanda gagged. Legitimately, if Jim hears about this or anyone else gets back to it, I appreciate Jim coming on. It is no fun to come into a place where like it is a hostile environment for you. That said, it's a lot easier to go into environments that aren't hostile if you don't repeatedly breach fiduciary duty and, lose tens of thousands or $10,000 by not being able to do your duty and ignoring the laws and not being able to read a calendar.
You did show up today.
We did show up late.
A little bit.
Wow. When are you gonna complete us a song so we have an outro for this one?
You can just pick a song from Agitpop.
So you want me just to play the same outro for everything?
No, you don't. Not the same outro for everything. You can just pick a new one every single time.
Or hold on, we just we go in and we grab some of this incredible AI rain.
No. I would rather. I would rather. I would rather the arrangement of the International.
Well, get on it.
You already have it. It's on
An
the
arrangement of.
yes. The arrangement of the International that appears at the end of at the base of the Baltic Fleet is my own arrangement.
I doubt that.
I wrote the harmony for it. It's not. It's the orchestral arrangement is not mine, but the vocal arrangement is entirely mine.
All right. We'll play just the vocals.
What?
We'll play just the vocals.
You could. It'll be on key.
Not once I'm done with it.
Don't trust any arrangement that Kyle puts up is what we needed to we learned.
So thank you guys for watching. I'll ask the chat here. It's, Amanda and I had some time blocked out in case this ran long. So if you guys want us to talk about anything else, let us know. And if not, we'll call it a day.
We could talk more about. We'd do a review.
Archie has an excellent question for you.
I'm not. Well, maybe it's because I'm not a socialist, Archie. I'm also socialists can believe in free markets. They're a different theory. Not that I am a socialist, but if I were a socialist, I would be a market socialist. But I'm not, because I would tell you if I were, and I'm not. So, but socialists, there are some socialists that believe in ownership. Actually, just about all socialists believe in some kind of ownership. But it's all the people's, Archie. It belongs to all the people. That is the point of the International and my arrangement thereof. It belongs to all the people. And don't forget that. Kyle, what is the look on your face?
I just keep expecting you to break into it at this point.
Why do an arrangement of it? Because, thank you, Sarah, it's true. Because it's an original arrangement. Just because there is one book doesn't mean that people shouldn't write other books. Just because there's one book doesn't mean that people shouldn't write commentaries on those books. Just because there's one version of libertarianism doesn't mean that there shouldn't be multiple versions.
Just all books come back to one original book, and all other books are commentaries upon that book.
Honestly, some of the arguments that I've seen on the internet about various things just kind of make that point. And it's kind of sad. The degree to which the straw man reduction builds.
Steel man.
No, it's a straw man reduction.
It's all steel men now. This is Trump's America.
Well, no, he's nationalized the steelmen, so steelmen have no ownership of themselves.
Indeed.
And I believe in ownership. So.
Yeah, you do. All right. So, with that, doesn't look like there's any more direct questions or things to bother about. So, we will see you guys again tomorrow for a Libertarian Solidarity with Chase
Stonewall.
Oliver stream on Stonewall.
All right, guys.
And I would say goodnight, but it's